Any questions?
You don't have Justin available. How do you just feel about the depth that you have there in the secondary?
Yeah, I think we'll have a plan either way. We'll be ready.
Vance mentioned yesterday that he's seen enough good on tape from this defense to suggest and have a good season. What do you see when you look there that maybe encourages you?
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, we talked about it several times now, this sprint to improve and make corrections, and that's kind of how we've approached it in all three phases. So I would agree.
You've done this at a long time at a high level. What is the key to being a good road team? Because it's been an issue for this team for the last few years.
Yeah, I go back to, you ready? Good road team. We're really good at home. We're good in cold weather, warm weather. We're probably a good team. And so, it's that simple, because I kind of went through it all in New Orleans, and we struggle when we leave the dome, and that was all historically because they had struggled, and we ended up, I think, becoming one of the top two road teams for a number of years. So I think it's back to how's the team, and then Mike mentioned it a few weeks ago, was 31-1 at home. I bet he had a good road record. I bet he, and so yeah, I think that's pretty easy.
Sean, Frank Smith's first job in the NFL was on your staff 13 years ago. What did you see from him then?
Miami of Ohio, we had this little cradle of coaches, pipeline. Now it's Northwestern. But I had heard a lot of good things. We brought Frank in, watched him develop. He was fantastic, good worker, good staff guy. And I've said this all the time. You want guys that have worked with you. Joe Brady was another young coach that we brought in, and I'm watching Dan you want guys that have been up in your system to have success. You want that for him. He's one of those guys, and he's doing a really good job.
Sean, Mike McDaniel hadn't called plays really before in the NFL. What do you think of him through whatever?
Shoot, he's doing well, and it's I would say, obviously calling the plays, but just as importantly is the design of what you're getting ready to call. And he's real sharp. He's a forward thinker. You can see it on tape, and you get a lot of different presentations that you have to really work through defensively. And they've done a really good job. Mike has done a fantastic job.
If Simmons can't go, would Turner Yell start at safety? What do you think of his
No.
What do you think of his 29 snaps last week?
Yeah, I thought last week he was good. Anything else?
How much of an issue has it been, all these injuries at safety? I mean, they've been disconcerting, haven't they? Plus the ejection.
Yeah, look, winning is the key, and I think that we'll have a good plan in place either way.
Sean,
How you, as a play caller, walk the line between maybe wanting to limit their opportunities on offense, but you stay aggressive?
Yeah, it's a great question. Part of it is playing complementary football, and part of it is the type of defense we're seeing, and we've got to be good on third downs. That's the one thing that will be important. And then I would say red zone. Vic's always done a good job of playing good red zone defense, and they don't give you a lot, but what they give you is they play it very well.
Sean, because
Go ahead.
You see a lot of people copying his red zone?
Well, it's not they're copying his red zone, but we've got, in credit to Vic, there's like a family of Fangio defenses now, and so it's really the whole package, which includes the red zone, the short yardage, and look, that's significant when you have had the success he's had in San Francisco, and then there's breakoffs with these other coaches. We found ourselves looking at some of these other disciples' film, knowing they're playing the same scheme for play designs that have been run against it. And listen, he's done a great job throughout his career, and is pretty smart.
Sean, because you don't go away for training camp, how valuable can road trips, especially with an extra
I like
night?
them. I mean, look, in New Orleans, we went through COVID and all of that. It just allowed you a chance to get away in a hotel, and it can eliminate some distractions. we had a rule there. As soon as the storm had a name, I went to Mickey about, leaving. And so when it had a number, we just paid attention. When it had a name, Mickey expected me to walk in and say, hey, we need to go somewhere. And you begin to embrace that. And early on as a coach, we had a London game, and I didn't know enough. And then we went over there, and then pretty soon it was like, hey, let's go back to London when we can. So we had about 4 different times when we relocated. Now, that's different than just playing an away game. But to your question, when you're on the road, there is a little bit less distractions, if you will, and I look forward to the trip.
What if anything, do you do differently during the week or leading up to the game for an early game as opposed to the 2:25?
Yeah, we try to stay on our schedule. We spend a lot of time on hydration, recovery. We leave Friday, get up on their time, then practice, and try to. I think it's a little bit more challenging when you come here. We spent all this time studying the altitude, and unless you can come 2 weeks early, we learned that it was better to come as late as possible. So instead of Friday, we were coming Saturday. I think that's a challenge. So depending on the city, you head east, there's challenges. You head to altitude, you head to warm. It's part of our league, and you cover it, and then you go play.
Obviously, Ronnie Perkins hasn't played in a regular season game, but when you bring a guy like that in off somebody else's practice squad, can you get something out of him right away, or does it take a little
Yeah,
while?
that's a good question. I think there's more a longer vision. Sometimes, you're forced to, but in his case, we felt like we had a young, talented player that, fit our vision. And so now, that doesn't mean we're not developing right now while he's here on our active roster with the idea that he can help us this year. But, his position coach, he's teammates with Nick. There were a lot of things that led us to that decision. One last question.
In the second half, with the way that Washington ran the ball in the second half, what needs to get better?
Yeah, I think our early down fits. I think our tackling, it's one of our keys in this game. These guys get the ball in space, and so you have to populate it and break down and be able to space tackle. They do a really good job. And so it's not just in the running game. It might be a pass that's just like a run that's completed quickly, and you got to pursue, shimmy down, and play with good leverage. I think that area is something I know Vance and our staff have been working on. All right, thank you guys.